In e-commerce, AI is becoming more and more valuable. However, it doesn't have access to your Shopify apps. You can't use that app section of your Shopify admin. Well, a lot of Shopify apps actually have a way to talk to them directly, namely using their APIs. The problem is ChatGPT doesn't know how their APIs work or how they're structured. If they're a big player, it probably has some understanding, but this understanding may be out of date. What if I told you there's a way to hand ChatGPT, any other AI, all that it needs to know in order to interact with these Shopify apps? That's what we're going to explore in this video. There is something called an OpenAPI spec. Now, that it's a file, and its main job is to just detail exactly how an API works. So what the API expects to have, what the API can do, what functions it can do, and then what data it can give in return. Now, this is perfect for feeding to any kind of AI chatbot that can access the internet, so ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity. So what we're going to do in this video is I'll show you how to get this spec file and then feed it to ChatGPT. We'll ask it to write a certain little program for us, and then we're going to use the Shopify Flow app, so the free app that Shopify has for automations. We're going to use that to run this code every day at a specific time and email one of our staff members a result. Okay, let's get started. So I'm going to show you how to get this spec file, which is called the OpenAPI spec. And as a file, it's often called this. So openapi.yaml. You don't need to know that though, because usually it's listed for Shopify app websites, developer portal, or their developer docs. So we're going to see where it is in Klaviyo, and then we're going to hop over to pre-product, which is the pre-order app that I run and work on, and we'll get it for pre-product, and then we'll go forwards into ChatGPT and actually use it to write some code. So apps and integrations, developer guides. If you don't see it in the main top menu, it's often in the footer under something like developers or API docs. So let's go to API reference. Here we can see OpenAPI in Postman, and you can see here, view the latest OpenAPI spec here, and import the spec into your favorite OpenAPI tool. So Postman is a common one. There's also Stoplight, and they use these spec files to help you write code and request against the APIs. So if you see Postman, that's another good tell. So all we need to do to grab this spec file is just click that. And this one's actually not linking directly to the file. It's going to GitHub, which is where developers store a lot of their code. If this all looks a bit, hard to parse, don't worry too much, because OpenAPI specs are always one file. So just click through. And then we've got beta and stable. Stable sounds about right. And this one's actually in JSON as opposed to YAML. Both are probably going to work. And then we click view raw. We can download this file. So that's how to get Klaviyos. Now let's look at pre-products. This time we're going to go to API docs. And for our docs, we actually use this company called Stoplight to create all our documentation, and they use this spec file. So all we need to do is go to, the top level, export, original. Let's open this up, and I'll just open it in a standard text editor and copy it. And just to let you briefly know about this, so APIs, they work by, most of them, so the type that we're going to talk about today, they use different URLs, different parts of the app. We're going to interact with this pre-order app today, pre-product. So we have resources for individual pre-orders. We have resources for pre-order listings. We have resources for pre-order charges. And then with each of those resources, you can usually fetch data, you can destroy data, and you can update or create data. So create resources. And that's how REST APIs, which the type we're using today, work. So anyway, let me copy and paste this in. So I always like to do a couple of backticks or even a couple of lines like that above and below any code that I paste into AI chatbots, just so it kind of differentiates between my text, my instructions, and the kind of reference material I'm giving it. We're going to say, hi, this is the API spec for a pre-order app that I use on my Shopify store. And the task we want to do today, the main strength of doing this is you can use undocumented or unsupported areas of your application that maybe the app developer hasn't built out or exposed to you through their admin. We can use all of that. So maybe we have a particular case on the other side of things. Maybe we can do it through the admin, but we want to do it in some kind of automated manner. That's where this technique's really great. And for today, we're going to use this endpoint. So this get due listings. So I mentioned pre-products, a pre-order app. You usually list products for pre-order and you say, we're planning to ship this in December 2nd, June 25th. Some kind of shipping statement. When you have hundreds or thousands of these listings, it can become tricky to track what's coming due and what's not. Now, we don't have you can actually see that in our admin, but like I say, if you've got thousands of listings, having some kind of automated alert to tell you which ones are coming due, I think would be really helpful. So that's what we're gonna build that today. So we can see there's this due within parameter. So parameters here and then due within. So number of days until ship dates to include. So I think we want to email ourselves an email with any product on pre-order that is becoming due in the next 3 days. So let's go back to ChatGPT and say, I want to request all pre-order listings that are coming due in the next 3 days. URL should I use? Okay, let's start with that. So Shopify Flow, it's the free Shopify app. It used to be completely just for Plus stores, but now it's for everyone. But there are a couple of things which are kind of Plus exclusive still. So we'll click select a trigger. We want this to go every morning. So we'll go flow, scheduled time. Then we're going to go plus and action. So this action will happen every day at 8 a.m. automatically. We are going to go to flow, send HTTP request. This is what ChatGPT has told us to use. And let's just double check that's right. API/v2/due listings, API/v2/due listings. And then it's done due within 3. Absolutely perfect. That's what the API uses. And then include your API token in the authorization header. Brilliant. So if we go back to Flow, what we do is if we Shopify Plus in this test store, click into that, we paste in this link. And then for the authorization header, we would go to pre-products in this instance and would copy and paste this and use that in the Flow header step. I'm not going to do the rest of this tutorial in Flow just because we can't continue, but that would be the best case scenario because then Shopify can schedule it every day for you. Then once you've got this result, you can do send internal email and then you would click add variable and the result from that request would be there and you could just click on it here and include that in your email and type around it, hey, please see due pre-order listings. And then obviously you'd put their email address in there in subject. So that's what you do if you're a Shopify Plus store. If you're not on Shopify Plus, we can go back to ChatGPT and say, okay, great. Can you write a JavaScript function to do this? Instead, I'd like to receive a list of product names that are due. Please use a placeholder for the API token. API tokens you always want to keep secret. You especially don't want to paste them into a chatbot because then, for example, I'm going to rotate this before I post this video, but anyone who has the API key can interact with your app and mess with your Shopify kind of setup and your catalog. So always a good idea to keep them secret. Okay, so let's see what it's got. Cool. I'm just going to copy and paste that into a browser. So let me show you how to do that. So on Chrome, I can go control click and go inspect. But if you don't use, if you don't have developer tools turned on, you can do console in the help bar and go developer JavaScript console. And we're going to paste that in. And then we're going to go back to pre-products and copy this little code and paste it into, maybe it's as big as you want, paste this into here. I just pasted it into here and it's saying that it's against its security policy. That's fine. We'll just go to another website and we'll do the same thing. Search just console and just paste it in here. And there we go. So we've got bamboo sheets, rucksack, and tights. So that was 2 ways to do this. Ideally, you do it through Shopify Flow, although you can do it through other platforms like Make, for example. And that's a kind of non-Shopify specific version of Flow anyway. So there's ways around it, but yeah, if you're on the Plus plan, use Shopify Flow. If not, use this kind of JavaScript method instead. You just ask ChatGPT for a function based on the spec that you've pasted in. So that is how you use the OpenAPI spec to educate whichever AI chatbot you use on how to talk to your Shopify apps. Now, we use pre-product today, and yeah, of course, we've got to mention it. So we have a commission-only plan. If you're interested in taking pre-orders, we won't charge you anything until you start making pre-order revenue. Other than that, I hope this was helpful, and I'd love a like or subscribe. Cheers.